In the heart of Chicago, a city where lights flicker endlessly against the night sky and the streets hum with restless energy, Daniel Miller and his wife Emily lived in a modest apartment overlooking the Chicago River. Daniel was a 35-year-old project manager at an engineering firm, dependable and hardworking, often caught between deadlines and office meetings. Emily, 33, was a high school teacher whose days were filled with lesson plans, grading papers, and helping students discover their potential. They loved each other deeply, but as years passed, their marriage settled into a rhythm that was comfortable yet predictable. Days blurred together into cycles of work, commuting, cooking dinner, watching television, and falling into bed exhausted. They still cared, but the spark that once defined their love seemed faint, hidden under the weight of routine. On a rainy Friday evening, after one of her longest weeks of teaching, Emily sat quietly by the window, sipping chamomile tea. Raindrops slid across the glass, blurring the city lights into streaks of gold and silver. She thought about the early days of her marriage, the spontaneous long drives, surprise flowers from Daniel, their endless conversations in little cafes, and she sighed. It wasn't that she was unhappy. She simply longed for the playfulness and energy they once shared. When Daniel walked in, loosening his tie and dropping his briefcase by the door, she looked at him and smiled. He was tired, yet his eyes still carried warmth. "Hey, Em," he said. "You look lost in thought. Everything okay?" She hesitated before answering. "Everything's fine, but maybe we could do something different tonight. Something just for us." Daniel, curious, raised an eyebrow. "Different how?" Emily grinned softly. "Well, for starters, no TV. Let's make this night our own." That decision, simple as it seemed, became the spark that shifted everything. Instead of sitting on the couch, they went into the kitchen together. Emily put on soft jazz music, songs they used to play on their first dates, and Daniel rolled up his sleeves to chop vegetables. She stirred a pot of pasta sauce while teasing him about his uneven cuts, and he responded with playful sarcasm. Laughter filled the room, replacing the usual background noise of television. They carried their plates to the dining table but, instead of cleaning up after dinner, they left the dishes on the counter and lit a few candles around the living room. Emily pulled out an old Scrabble board from the closet, dusted it off, and said, "It's been years since we played this." At first, the game was clumsy, but soon it turned into a playful competition. Daniel made up silly words, Emily challenged them, and both laughed until tears ran down their cheeks. When the night ended, they realized it wasn't about doing something grand. It was about being present, about creating moments together. The following week, Emily and Daniel decided to make it a tradition. Every Friday night became their unforgettable night. Sometimes they tried cooking exotic meals they had never dared before. Thai curry, homemade sushi, even a failed attempt at French pastries that left flour all over the counters. Other times, they created new experiences without leaving home. One evening, they laid out a blanket on the living room floor and built an indoor picnic. They filled a basket with sandwiches, fruit, and sparkling water, pretending they were in a sunny park even though rain poured outside. Another Friday, they transformed their small balcony into a romantic hideaway. Daniel strung fairy lights overhead, Emily lit candles in mason jars, and they sat under a cool summer breeze sharing spaghetti while the city skyline glowed around them. They learned that creativity turned ordinary spaces into magical memories. On one particularly clear night, Daniel suggested they drive to Lake Michigan. They packed blankets, hot cocoa in a thermos, and snacks, then found a quiet spot by the water. Wrapped in warmth, they lay side by side watching stars scatter across the dark sky. The reflection of city lights rippled over the water, and Emily rested her head on Daniel's shoulder. "I forgot how peaceful this feels," she whispered. Daniel kissed her forehead gently. "It feels right, doesn't it? Just us and the night." In that quiet, they both realized that passion wasn't about expensive vacations or luxury. It was about the choice to be together, intentionally, fully present. These nights became a reminder that love wasn't measured by grand gestures but by the small, consistent moments that built lasting bonds. As weeks turned into months, their relationship blossomed. Emily noticed how Daniel's laughter became more frequent, how he looked less weighed down after long days. Daniel noticed Emily's eyes light up with renewed energy, her stress softening when she was with him. Friends began to comment on the change. At a dinner party, their friend Jessica teased, "You two act like newlyweds. What's your secret?" Emily and Daniel exchanged a look before Emily answered with a smile, We just decided not to let life drain us. We make our nights special." Their friends laughed, but the truth of it resonated. It wasn't complicated, yet it was something many couples forgot to do. During the holiday season, Daniel planned a surprise that touched Emily deeply. One Friday, she walked into the living room to find the coffee table set with pizza boxes and 2 tall glasses filled with root beer floats. A playlist of nostalgic songs from their 20s played softly in the background. Emily froze for a moment, realizing what it was, the exact setup from their first date years ago. Her eyes filled with tears. "You remembered," she whispered. Daniel smiled. "Of course I did. That night mattered then, and it matters even more now." They spent hours reliving old memories, talking about their journey, laughing about their awkward first impressions, and feeling closer than ever. Not every Friday was perfect. Some weeks, Daniel came home too exhausted, or Emily was buried in lesson plans. On those nights, they kept things simple. Ordering takeout, talking over dinner, or sharing a walk through Millennium Park. They understood that passion didn't mean constant excitement but steady care. Even small acts, writing a sweet note, making a favorite meal, or just listening attentively, added bricks to the foundation of their love. Over time, their marriage felt less like a cycle of routines and more like an ongoing adventure, even within the walls of their small apartment. Their journey became an unspoken philosophy. Passion isn't something that fades with time, it's something you nurture. It's not about candlelight every night or extravagant gestures but about intention, laughter, presence, and love shown in ordinary ways. They discovered that even in a city as busy as Chicago, they could carve out a world of their own, one Friday at a time. Emily often thought back to that rainy evening when she made the simple suggestion to change their routine. That choice, though small, reshaped their story. And Daniel, looking back on everything, realized that love doesn't lose its magic unless you let it. It only grows richer when you feed it with effort and joy. Years later, as they stood on their balcony one evening, watching the sun set behind the skyline, Emily leaned against Daniel and whispered, "We turned average nights into something unforgettable, didn't we?" Daniel held her close, his voice steady and warm. "We did, Em. And we'll keep doing it, for the rest of our lives."